Welcome to the Dean's Lunchtime Chat. I'm Allison Werder. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer and Assistant Dean here at Isenberg, and I have a few logistics that I'm going to go over before I turn it over to Dean Massey to start our chat. First of all, you probably heard we are recording this session. It's really so we can share it with registered attendees later. So by being here today, you agree to be recorded, and we will share this afterwards for anyone who's interested. Located on the bottom of your screen, there is a Q&A function that I would encourage anyone who has questions during the conversation today, please submit them down there. I know we did take questions in advance, and we are going to cover as many of those as possible throughout all of the presentations today. But if there are things that come up, please do so there. The chat and microphone will be disabled for attendees during the session. We have over 200 people, which we're thrilled that you've all joined us today, but obviously it would be a lot. So we've disabled those, and we're really going to try and funnel those through the Q&A session below. So I really encourage you to interact in that way. So that's all for me. I'm going to turn it over to Dean Massey to get us started. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Well, welcome to all of our alumni and parents that are tuning in today for our fall Dean's Lunchtime Chat. I know that you've come in because you want to hear about what's going on at Isenberg, get some updates on student career opportunities and so on. So we've tried to put together a program that hopefully will answer your questions and satisfy your interests. Just so you know, this fall, more than 1,000 first-year and transfer students began their Isenberg journey. So we now have a total of about 3,900 undergraduates with us this fall. Collectively, we also have a lot of new faces in addition to students across all our programs, and we've ramped up all of our resources to support not only our undergraduates, but our graduate students as well. We added 20 new full-time faculty that started this fall with us, along with the same number of staff members. That's 40 new people that have been joined the ranks of Isenberg. And I will say finding space for everyone has been quite the challenge. But we're kind of making our way through that, getting everybody comfortable and set in. We've added teams of faculty and staff in undergraduate and graduate programs, the Office of Career Success. You'll hear from Holly Lawrence, our Assistant Dean, regarding the OCS today, and in many of our other departments. So it's very much more convenient and easy for students to get the kind of support that they need, access to services, curricular changes, and so on. I also want to share, you may be aware, we've had our Isenberg Strategic Plan Roadmap 2027 has been in place a couple of years. We're making great progress in terms of goal attainment and our key priority areas. We've had 5 for the last few years that we've focused on, but this fall we added a 6th priority area. We'd always implicitly done some things in this space, but I wanted to make it explicit. And that area is fostering employee well-being. So that has been added to our strategies and our priorities, where we're investing as we must in our staff who do such important work for us across supporting the departments, to supporting their programs, to direct interface with students on advising and career services, among many, many other things. So we're doing a lot of things with our staff that I think they're actually really enjoying and adding value to our programs. So right now, so we can get right into it, we have a short hour ahead of us. I'm going to turn to Susan Boyer. Susan is our director of our Learning and Research Technologies group, which we founded a little over a year ago. And Susan is going to be talking to us today about how our faculty are using technology in their instruction in very innovative ways. And she's going to be followed by Nora Junaid. If we have any alums out there, you may have had Nora or Susan in a class. And Nora is going to be talking about some of the really innovative things that she's using to engage students with technology. So without further ado, Susan, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thanks for taking time today.
Terrific. Thank you, Dean Massey. I am super excited today to share with you some innovations we are bringing into our classroom in something that we're calling our technology sandbox. So I have a little PowerPoint presentation to share with you, and let me start my PowerPoint. So the Isenberg Technology Sandbox was a vision from Dean Massey a year ago. She said, we need to start bringing new technology into the classroom so that the students can experience some things that are happening in industry that maybe individually in individual classes they can't support. So she gave me a room, which is incredible considering she just told you how impacted we are at the Isenberg School. And in this room, she said, let's try out some new technology. So we decided to start with AR VR. So AR VR is augmented or virtual reality, and we bought headsets for the students with a dedicated space, and we painted the walls blue, which was really bold, but it adds sort of this green space environment for us when we need to create different spaces for different people using the headsets. We put lights down on the bottom of the floors, and we invested in some portable tables and dividers. So why are we interested in bringing virtual reality to our students? Well, research shows us that you can learn up to 4 times faster by being in a virtual reality environment versus in a different kind of one-dimensional, two-dimensional environment. We're able with this room to give our students an immersive experience. And so I'm going to give you some examples of what we're doing in some of our classes in the next few slides. And it also is teaching our students how to be good remote collaborators. We know our students are going to be working for large companies, doing work from home, even if they're working from small companies, and they need the experience to be able to work with other people that they're not actually seeing or not in the same space. And fourthly, we love our students to practice a variety of skills and with this improved learning in the virtual reality environment, we can help our students practice. And finally, we know that Fortune 100 companies are using AR/VR technology. Companies such as Walmart, Ford, Coca-Cola, and UPS. So we want to get our students ready for the work world. And this is one way that we can do it. So what are we doing? We're bringing different classes down into this VR space that we created. And one of the first areas that we are looking at are soft skills. So we do a lot of hard skill training in accounting and finance and sport, but we also need to teach our students things like how to be good at job interviews, how to network, how to give good presentations, negotiations, and being involved in ethical dilemmas in the work environment. So this product called Virtual Speech allows us to give our students practice. For instance, you're going to give a presentation. Presentations are scary for everyone. You know, you get that pit in your stomach and you get the jitters. And this virtual speech environment allows them to practice individually in a safe space so that they can go into that presentation or that job interview with just that much more a background in it for them. So let me show you this quick little video, just show 1 minute of this about the environment of virtual speech.
Welcome to Virtual Speech, your ultimate partner for soft skills development. Our goal is to help you achieve your career goals with immersive courses and practice exercises, online and in VR.
We offer 30 courses covering professional soft skills, including essential public speaking, leadership communication, storytelling, and difficult conversations. Dive into realistic role-play scenarios with our avatars to hone your skills. Practice negotiations, difficult conversations, job interviews, sales pitches, and more. Experience authentic reactions and emotions to prepare you for real-world situations.
You think you can just walk in here and belittle me without knowing the first thing about my life?
Engage in multi-avatar conversations to enhance your ability to manage complex dialogues and group discussions.
Whether you're using VR.
So that's just an example of what we're going to be bringing students down and prototyping in our VR room. We have had a really good experience with empowering students to work through ethical dilemmas with one of our professors from last semester, where somebody was in a work environment where a boss was giving really tough, harsh feedback. And the students were just so surprised at how impactful that was, if when they become bosses, to really be cognizant of how your employee would react to you if you were being overly aggressive. So really excited about this soft
browser.
skills reality. Next up, we had a professor come down who is doing 3D, doing prototyping in his class. And so the students were able to come down to the AR/VR technology sandbox and with an idea of a product that they want to bring to market and actually create the product in a 3D environment with each other, collaborating and bringing the idea into life in a way that you would never be able to do if you were sketching this out on a piece of paper. So we are using some products called Gravity Sketch and Shapes VR apps. Next up, we had a professor, or we will be having somebody come down this semester who are going to be having their students look at financial data in a 2D environment. So if you've got Excel and you're doing an X and Y graph, you see the data in 2D. But what if you could interact with the information in 3D instead of in 2D? Would this enhance your understanding of the financial data? And so we're using a product called Flow Immersive App. And let me show you a little bit about how this app works. And let me get this going here so we don't have to watch the whole thing. But this is what the 3D financial modeling might look like.
A zip phone.
Things out and get to a decision faster. This is something inherently you can't do on a 2D screen, but can in augmented reality.
Do is introduce the height axis, and this height axis like a bit of like a crater essentially, so not just in the state of Georgia, but you can see how this trend really applies to all major metro cities, metro areas.
1982. So you can see how that's going to be a real big improvement, perhaps, for our financial modeling. And we are using a product called Flow Immersive. So next up, we had two different classes, one called Strategic Management for a Sustainable World. And in this class, the professor brought the students down and they were able to watch a 3D video of plastics that are entering our oceans and have the students really emotionally engage with this huge topic that they are going to be looking at through the entire semester. So that was very successful. And then my second picture over here is a class called in Beverage Management. The professor talks a lot about how different wineries have different processes for creating the wines. So he was able to find these really terrific virtual vineyard tours to take the students on when they came down to the technology sandbox, showing them how, instead of just, here's a picture of how this might work, but actually showing them the different kinds of processes of winemaking. So that was really successful. And then we have the professors who are doing ideation, classes where you take an innovative idea and you have to bring it from, here's my idea. Now I'd like to develop my idea and how I would actually produce that idea. And so we have this product called Noda app, where it allows you to visualize concepts in relation to each other while you're working in a collaborative environment, create storyboards, and do this mind mapping, breaking down very complex concepts and visually being able to map those out. So our last and final example of how we're using the technology sandbox is for immersive sports. So you can imagine that this is one of the most popular things that the Quest headsets are being used for, is to watch different sporting events in 3D, becoming very popular. And so let me play this without the sound on so you can sort of get an example of where this is going. But what the professor was able to partner with a research company who was doing research on opportunities in advertising. So the students put on one hat saying, I'm visually enjoying this game. And am I looking at this advertising? Is this advertising impactful? And then the professor had the students put on the hat of a manager saying, would I want to invest my advertising dollars in this 3D opportunity? So that was a lot of fun for the students. So what's next? What's next is this technology, the AR/VR headsets, is going to be moving from the clunky headset, as you saw the students in our example, putting on these things that you have to wear that are a little bit tiring because they're heavy and they're not, not really comfortable. But it's going to be moving to smart glasses and wearables. So Meta's come out with a smart glass that you can see over here on the right. It looks a little bit clunky, but taking a headset to glasses where you could get sort of the same 3D environment and augmented reality. And perhaps you could be looking at something like the Eiffel Tower and say, hey, show me information about the thing I'm looking at. And up would pop in front of your eyes, just like in the Matrix report, something about what you're looking at, information about it. Similarly, if you ran into a colleague and you couldn't remember their name or something, you could maybe perhaps get information on the colleague that you were looking at. And then wearables is one of the next things that the technology is really improving upon, where you're wearing a pin or a watch or a ring that's scanning your environment and perhaps recording meetings that you're having throughout the day. And then you could ask your pin, hey, I remember that meeting that I had 2 weeks ago with Claudia. What were the deliverables from that meeting? And the artificial intelligence assistant could maybe help you with some of that memory. And so we are prototyping for the Office of Career Success this virtual speech interview assessment, where we're going to try and make this available to as many students as are interested in upping their interview game with the use of this AR/VR virtual reality, and they can practice their interviewing and get feedback from the AI assistant saying, hey, I noticed that your eye contact wasn't really terrific. You could improve upon that. Your speech was a little bit too quick, or when I asked you a question, you didn't respond with a lengthy enough answer. So incredible AI technology being brought right to our students, helping them with something very tangible like interviewing. And then finally, we have partnered with a company called iMotions, which does eye tracking. So you could put on the VR headset and have the students look at, say, a web page with some interesting information, or even watch that basketball game in 3D. Where are your eyes looking? Are you looking at the advertisement? Are you looking at just at the basketball? How effective are the yellow can versus the blue can? And we can set up students to do really interesting and deep research projects with this iMotion eye tracking software. So that's it for me. Next up, I would like to introduce Nora Junaid, one of my colleagues, who's going to talk to you about her Excel Ninja project.
Yes, thank you, Susan. Okay. Hi, everyone. So I'm very excited to share this. And as you all heard, at Isenberg, we are all about innovation and innovating in the classroom. But what is even more important than just, trying to be innovative and overwhelming students with technology, the most important thing is meeting them where they are. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, 1 second. All right, so we are dealing with Gen Z. And these are the students who are born roughly between 1997 and 2012. And the thing is that we have realized, of course, as you have as well, that they have a short attention span. The average span is between 8 seconds compared to 12 seconds for millennials. And so they have quick scanning habits due to constant exposure to social media, such as TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, and others. So they prefer learning in a way or in a method that provides quick access to short videos. They're called the click and go generation because this is what they are used to. And they love multitasking. So they love switching between apps. They love looking at our LMS and then going to a social media website. And they are highly engaged with very interactive and visual content. This means that when we are delivering our lessons, we need to keep in mind that they love videos, they love infographics, they love charts. They are not fans of, slides with a lot of words or a lot of description. They want, the summary. They want, the end picture, they want the end result in the form of a picture or a graph, or again, just a visual. Microsoft Excel, as you all know, and we've spoken to a lot of our employers, is a very much appreciated skill to have. It used to be an add-on. It used to be something special that you can add to your resume, but that's not anymore the case. Employers are expecting that our students know Excel and are very good at it. So we've done a lot of things to make sure that our students learn Excel. We've also created a badge that students can share on their resumes and social media accounts such as LinkedIn to show employers that they are proficient in Excel. It is an exam that they take, which shows employers that we're not just saying proficient in Excel on our resume like everybody else does, but what we are doing is saying we are proficient and we have a badge to prove this. But, within the context of innovation, we thought that maybe in order to reach better to Gen Z and in order to make sure that they know Excel really well and they are always reminded of the concepts and skills and they are up to date with all the new features that Excel is always coming up with, we need to create something that really talks to them, something that, teaches them the stuff in a way that they like and in a way that they prefer so that they can retain the information and impress employers in interviews and so forth. So we, in OIM 210, in an introductory class at Isenberg School of Management that all students take to learn a lot of Excel, literally from zero to hero, we created an account called Excel Ninja. And Excel Ninja is an Instagram account, and it's on Instagram, not on TikTok, because according to a lot of research, Instagram has a lot of things related to security. Most of our students or most of Gen Z have Instagram accounts, so we did a lot of research, and the Instagram platform was the best. So it's an Instagram account that focuses basically teaching Excel. It's short, direct videos. Remember those 8-second spans that we were talking about? It does exactly this. And each video is designed to provide quick and actionable Excel tips and tricks. So by students looking at those videos and relating to a song or a trend or a common theme that they've been seeing on TikTok and Instagram, and then looking at an Excel shortcut, they would learn the content, digest it, and retain it in much better ways. So the content is matched with something that they can resonate with. It is highly interactive because after each post, we ask students, what do you think about this? Did you know this trick? Do you want to learn something new? And the traction has been amazing. It has been great. Students are using the account a lot. I'm going to just show you a video, an example of a post by one of our students, and then I'm going to tell you what happened next. So this is an example of a student who is dancing to the rhythms of a very popular song. And then she shows us how we can split text. This is an example of another student who was sitting actually in my office, and he is showing how different shortcuts work. So I'm going to... So this video is very short. As you can see, it's only 10 seconds, but it shows students 5 different shortcuts. And this is another student. This is another student showing us how to use count versus counting. So I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Excel functions, but the count and count A functions are very confusing. So we chose the confused song just to make a bit of a entrance to this function. So going inside labs, we noticed that a lot of students are actually holding their phones and using our account as a catalog, which was amazing. But little did we know that this account is going to go viral. And little did we know that we were going to get so much success out of this account. We started getting followers from all over, not the country, the world. We've got followers from India, China, the Middle East, the Gulf, any place, you name it. And of course, all over the United States. And our post started going viral. So we've got this post that has 7 million viewers. So 7 million people all over the world are seeing Isenberg students show off their Excel skills. It's been liked by 127,000 people. It's been shared 28,000 times. And it's been shared 12,000 times, and it's been saved 28,000 times, and 1.2 thousand comments. If you go to the account and look at the comments, people are saying, where do you work? What is Isenberg? You are so lucky to be an Excel ninja. I want to learn Excel too. So not only are we teaching students the skills in a fun and nice and interactive way, but also employers and everyone basically around the world gets to know that, we are so good at Excel. So after going viral, we reached 250,000 followers. Today, we have around 270,000 followers from all over, checking out how good Excel students are at Excel. So of course, they say bad stuff travel fast. Well, in our case, I think that was the exact opposite, because in our case, the good word was the one that traveled fast. And a Microsoft representative reached out to me. He sent me an email, and he was very interested in the account, and he thought that the tricks and tips were very nice, and the way that we are curating the content is very attractive, and it really teaches a lot of people, even, if you're not a student, even if you are at work, it refreshes your memory and lets you know about the new functions. So they reached out to us, and they gave me the badge of the Microsoft Ambassador and a Microsoft Insider. So having the badge for the Microsoft Insider means that I meet with Microsoft once every month and get like an insight or a sneak peek about features that have not been introduced by Microsoft earlier, and I get to share them with my class. So our classes at Isenberg know stuff about Microsoft and Microsoft Excel in particular that nobody knows. So in interviews, when somebody asks them to perform a VLOOKUP, now they can stand up and say, I know how to perform a VLOOKUP, but have you heard about this new function called the XLOOKUP that not a lot of people know? So this was amazing, but the even more amazing thing is that we were asked to host the regional competition for Microsoft Excel that's going to be held for the first time in the Northeast. So Isenberg is known to be the innovation hub, and now it's going to also be the Excel hub, because it is going to be the place where all the students from different schools in the Northeast, we're talking about BU, BC, Northeastern, Harvard, MIT, all of these other schools. And we are going to be holding a competition on April the 5th in Excel. And of course, the winner is going to get prizes. And they are actually going to call the competition the Microsoft Excel Ninja Competition. And then after the regionals, our students or the team who has won from a certain school is going to go on another competition. And this is all going to be arranged in 2025. And we're so excited about this. We never thought that it would, reach that far. But I guess being innovative and, reaching students where they are was key for us to accomplish this or to make this happen. Thank you. Any questions?
Good. Nora, thank you so very much. And Susan, before you, this was actually wonderful. I hope the attendees today really appreciate the investment that Isenberg we've been making in our technology suite, both in terms of the technology sandbox, our behavioral research lab. Susan mentioned the iMotions partnership with eye tracking. We have a lab the behavioral lab for faculty and doctoral students to use, and we're connecting it with our technology sandbox. So lots of different research, behavioral research, and then applications that the students are getting exposure to that are really phenomenal. And I know the students are enjoying it, and we're certainly enjoying working with the faculty as we're upskilling the faculty. So without further ado, I'm going to turn our attention to a little bit different topic here. We have Holly Lawrence. Some of you know Holly and heard from Holly before. Holly is our Assistant Dean for our Office of Career Success, and she's going to give us a little bit of update on what's going on in the placement, both for internships and jobs, and kind of how the market has looked over since 2023 and into this year, and kind of some of the things that's going on in her office. So Holly, it's all yours.
Thank you, Dean Massey. Hello, everyone. I'm excited to give you an update from the Office of Career Success. I thought I'd jump in with some preliminary stats from the class of 2024. So I am going to share my screen, if I may. Let's see. Hopefully you can see that. So I say preliminary because we're still collecting information from the class of 24. So we follow a standard data collection practice that is typical in accredited business schools to get first destination results from graduates, which means we have a couple more months to go while we're getting that information. But I can give you a glimpse now of how the results are shaping up. So as you can see, the average salary is currently just under $70,000 with an average starting bonus of $5,666 for those who received and reported a bonus. I think those are great numbers. And so far, 95% of those seeking full-time employment started a full-time position within 6 months, so far. And the top hiring companies are some of our long-standing employer partners. And they're hiring students in roles that range from sales and trading analysts to investment banking analysts, audit associate, and area manager. So that is a little bit about the 2024 grads. So let me now talk about some of what's happening today. So fall recruiting is what's happening today. So some of you submitted early questions about on-campus recruiting. So I thought I would be smart to share the results of what we've just had, Isenberg Career Days. So we held career days in late September, and we had 95 employers and about 2,400 students attend. So on screen is just a sample of some of the participating employers. So in addition to the event itself, many of our recruiters stayed on each night to attend other networking events. And I just wanted to give you an example of one of those events. It was actually sponsored by my office, the Office of Career Success. We did this for the first time. So we partnered with students, with the faculty who teach School of Management 200, which is our sophomore level career class. It's required of all majors. And students enrolled this fall had the chance to come to the Isenberg Hub and practice networking skills with recruiters. So some of the recruiters who've been there that day or were going to come in the morning for the career fairs, they stayed and they performed this activity with us. So we had students moving in small groups. They were in what are called their accountability groups, and they interacted with recruiters across a variety of industries. And the idea was for students to do the majority of the talking and practice sharing their stories, about who they are and what they're interested in. And so it was a live networking event for hundreds of sophomores at a time. And so far, the feedback has been that it was quite successful. So we're going to be doing it again in the spring, and slightly different version of it with sophomores who are enrolled in the class next semester. So, career days and special networking events, like I've just described, are only two examples of how students get to practice skills and interact with employers and alumni. So we've had and will continue to have employer information sessions, meet and greets, and other recruiting events throughout the fall. In fact, if I go back to the beginning of the semester, accounting events started the third day of classes. So that industry tends to recruit students really early, as in their first and second years. And some of you were asking about opportunities for younger students. Well, accounting really digs into those early years. And during this fall or any fall, the accounting recruiters will offer internships to sophomores. and they're offering them 18 months in advance. So the fall semester of the sophomore year for an internship in the summer after the junior year. And that's really typical in that industry. We also have a number of employers and alumni coming to campus for talks. Some of them will be virtual talks. We also have them on campus. And these talks are often informal opportunities for students to learn more about an industry, a company, or a role. And they can be really invaluable opportunities for students because they're learning from people who are actually engaged in those jobs today. And then finally, a little bit about interviewing. So there are lots of interviews happening in our interview suite for internships and jobs. So it's really been hopping this fall, and we've seen students interviewing with Grant Thornton, Hotel Ave, Dell, PwC, Pebblebrook Trust, Kohler, KPMG, TJX, among many others. So that's just a sense of who's coming to campus and holding in-person, on-campus interviews with our students in our suite. And I have to say, it's really great to see so many students prepared, excited, also a little nervous as they wait for their interviews. And then virtual interviews, of course, are happening. And we let students use our interview rooms for a quiet professional space when they have a virtual interview. So we've had dozens and dozens of students book interview rooms for virtual interviews with companies such as Capital One, Berkeley Research Group, BDO, Brooklyn Nets, Deloitte, and McKinsey. So we have that industry-wide across the spectrum of opportunities for students, whether the employers are coming to campus or they're meeting with them virtually. And in fact, some of them do both. So all this to say, things are truly happening and students are networking, meeting with recruiters, interviewing for jobs and internships, and practicing all kinds of essential professional development skills. While we've had lots of recruiting activity so far this fall, we also know that there has been a slowdown in some areas, such as some in tech and private equity and consulting. And we know this has meant disappointment for some of our students and their parents. But I want to reassure you, we are here to help our students overcome and find a meaningful career path and positive outcome. So I wanted to share with you a little bit of the advice we offer to our students. One of the first things we hope they know is to be flexible. So it's one of our top pieces of advice. We know that some of our students have their hearts set on a specific role or outcome, but in a tough market, if it's something they're pursuing where there's not as much hiring going on, perhaps, they may need to expand their search and consider a similar but different role. We also encourage students to expand their search by location. So many students want to stay in the Northeast, but we know that there are other opportunities in other areas like Charlotte or Austin. So a pivot in role or location allows students to stay in the game and develop highly valuable experience. They make connections, and then they can potentially, if they still want it, move into that prized position down the road. So that's one of the first pieces of advice. We also, probably this is our top piece of advice, encourage students to develop their networks. So it is a tried and true practice. It really, really works. So students, all of us really, right, learn so much about ourselves and our own interests, as well as things about roles, companies, and industries, you name it, by engaging in conversation with others. So we encourage them to network with their fellow students. I just had a TA who was meeting with a first-year student. She just mentioned a story to me on Friday that she learned something about campus from a first-year student she didn't even know, and it was really helpful to her. So sometimes students don't think they can get information from each other, but in this case, a student who was 3 years younger let her know about something that was valuable to her as a senior. So we encourage students to network with each other, with their faculty, with staff, with alumni, employers, and others. And they will, by doing this, they'll learn about a variety of activities that are out there that they might partake in, as well as possibly jobs. Sometimes they can learn about through a connection about an opportunity that may not be posted. We teach students in our classes how to network. We do informational interview assignments, for example. And then we also, as I've already described, we have a bunch of opportunities for them to put some of those learned skills into action. Externships, micro internships, these are things that students can do to help develop their resumes. So you might be wondering what some of those things are. There are great ways to gain experience and grow skill sets. So an externship, for example, is a short-term experience, and it happens at a company's site. And in that site visit, and it might be as short as a day or a week, students are exposed to what that company does in different functions within the organization. And it oftentimes can lead to a better chance for an internship with that company. It also may mean that a student learns it's not a place they're interested in, or they learn more about the industry broadly. Those are great things. So that's an externship, and they're especially ideal for first and second year students. Then we have micro internships. These are also short term, but they tend to be project based. And so on screen, you can see one of the companies that offers micro internships, Parker Dewey. And those internships, the micro internships, Parker Dewey facilitates the internships, and they're with major companies like Bose and Beats, and not just things that have to do with audio, but you get the idea, big companies. And then finally, we have a number of ways for students to develop their skills. We have a product that we subscribe to called Forage, and it's a platform that partners with Fortune 500 companies to develop short-term courses. So taking these free courses can make a student a better candidate for a position in that company or another. And then we also have subscriptions to platforms like DataCamp and LinkedIn Learning, where students can enhance current skills or develop new ones, all for free. Last, I just wanted to mention deferrals. So we don't see a lot of deferrals, but they can happen. So sometimes a company postpones a start date. Now, we encourage students to check in with us immediately when this happens. And so we don't want students to accept a job and then change their mind. But if there is a deferral, we can talk to them about pursuing another opportunity. So if they meet with us, we can help them navigate next steps. Sometimes they want to just stay the course. There are lots of opportunities and options out there. So this could even happen to somebody who's been a recent grad. And my office does work. People were asking about this with alumni 6 months post-graduation. And then after that, UMass Alumni Relations offers excellent career services and resources for life. So let me just close with some of the resources that we have and that we offer here in Isenberg. So we have a wonderful career support team. In addition to our employer relations team, we have career advisors, and they are highly skilled at working with students at any stage of their career development journey. And we also have a team of career peers, thanks to generous alumni donations. And so these Isenberg juniors and seniors meet with undergrads starting in their first year. Our goal in this office is for every student, undergraduate and master's, to visit our offices for an advising appointment. And not just because it's a requirement in the class, and there are some required appointments. So we want to move beyond that piece of it. We also have a 24/7 virtual career seminar. Some of you may have heard about this before from me. So in addition to meeting with our career support team, students have access to tons of career and professional development resources, such as the one that's on screen, Management Consulted, which we subscribe to. It's a tool to help prepare students for case interviews. And then you just heard about the wonderful things happening with the Technology Sandbox. So virtual speech, we're going to have those headsets and the gear in our office for students to practice interviews. We have on iConnect upcoming events, and we also post job and internships on iConnect. So iConnect is curated by our office, and we regularly update the content, and we have it by major as well as by master's programs. So it's super organized and available for students to access at any time. And I will just close with this note about ways that you can be involved. So some people said, I might know about an opportunity. How do I get it in front of Isenberg students? Here's how. On screen. So you can send a job or an internship or information about your company if you want to be involved. to either our executive director of undergraduate or graduate students and employer relations. That's Melissa Salva and Trista Evie, and they share information all the time. So you can send to one and they'll get it to the other if they need to. So that is what I have from the Office of Career Success. I hope I've answered some of the advanced questions that I know came in, and thank you so much.
Holly, thank you very, very much. And I'm going to ask that all the presenters come back on if we get some questions here. And we're going to have Allison is going to help us with any questions that were outstanding. But I just want to make one comment to follow up on Holly's presentation in particular for the parents out there with your student is you need to encourage them to take advantage of the Office of Career Success. We have programming every year, whether it's formal classroom program, workshops that Holly mentioned, events, all sorts of skill building. Students need to take advantage of it. Too often we get to their senior year and they've not taken advantage of the services, and then they're scrambling trying to find a job or an internship. And so again, we really, really encourage the students to get involved. We provide those resources to them. And the office, Holly, as you can see, is wonderful. Her whole team is absolutely phenomenal. And so I encourage you to do that. So is Susan still here if she wants to come back on? I don't know if Nora may have had class. I'm not sure.
Yes,
But,
I'm still there. Yep.
Allison, you want to lead us with any questions that we have? There's Nora. There she is. Thank you, Nora.
Sure, I'll go through some of the questions that were submitted in advance. Again, I'd encourage attendees. We have about 15 minutes remaining. If there are questions that you would like to have addressed, please submit it through the Q&A. I'm monitoring that. One of the questions that has come up both from parents and alumni is what career services are available to students who have graduated, either recently or alumni further down the line.
Holly, you want to take up? You said you're deeply embedded in that.
Yeah, I'm happy to take that. So students can continue to work with us, like I said, up to 6 months after graduation, so they can meet with a career coach. They have access to all of our resources on iConnect. So other people, if they were to try to access some of the things on iConnect, they'd hit a firewall, but our students won't for up to that 6 months afterwards. And then if they still need some support, or perhaps it's a year after graduation, they've had a job, but they want to make a shift, our Alumni Relations Office has excellent career services. And on iConnect, we have a page for alumni, and it lists everything that they can get, what they can get from the Central Office of Alumni Relations, as well as working with us.
Thanks, Holly.
Okay, I had another question that just came in from the Q&A, and I'm going to, they were saying that their child is a transfer student who's come in as a sophomore. The question is, are they starting late? Are they behind if they're just starting their internship process now, perhaps, sophomore, junior year?
No, because especially I saw in that Q&A that it was accounting, so they are prime. They need to get into our office and meet with someone, though, so that we can connect them with the recruiters. I tell you, the accounting firms, they come in and they are on, and they'll be back again in spring, and they're still here, but they'll be back again in spring. So your sophomore who transferred in and is interested in accounting is really in very good shape. So accounting's hiring, and they would love to talk to him.
Yeah. And I think that what Holly just said again is get into the Office of Career Success, meet with an advisor, because they will work to help create a plan. Right. And as I always like to say, much to the annoyance of my kids, a goal without a plan is a wish. And so I might wish I'm going to have an internship, but I need a plan to get one. And so Holly and her team are there to help you do that.
Yes, thank you for saying that. And I should say thank you to you, Dean Massey, because you've helped us staff up here. So we have people who are waiting to meet with your students, and we would love them to come in.
Just a real quick follow-up on that. Someone said, we've been talking about accounting. First, are there breakdowns about how the job employment looks for students of different majors? And are you finding that there's as much interest and involvement of recruiters beyond accounting?
Yeah, I said a lot about accounting because they have such a big presence here at times. But yeah, so the employers that I showed logos for early on with our career days, I mean, they're hiring across the industries. We were representing all the majors with the internships and jobs that they are posting. So our largest major is finance. We had JP Morgan, we had Hotel Ave, we had State Street, we have others who were there who were hiring across the industry. So it's definitely not just accounting.
And Holly, confirm my suspicion again, students working through your office and using Handshake, the companies come to us to post those jobs. So some students think LinkedIn is great. I mean, it's not bad but going out and applying to something through LinkedIn, you might be one of 10,000 people. You come into Handshake, they have explicitly come to Isenberg looking for our students. So that's why, again, we try to encourage the use of the office and Handshake as that posting. And I think that helps. To my understanding, Holly, and I think everyone's probably seen the jobs report of late last week, the rate cut, things are starting to open up. And so we're very hopeful on that. I've seen that. I think, Holly, you're seeing that. You told me that things are starting to come in.
They really are. And I think I mentioned anecdotally to you, Anne, that in the career day, I was talking to a recruiter who's one of our major employer partners who said last year we didn't really have much in the Northeast, but now we have a bunch of openings. So, it's you don't really know until it's in front of you. But yes, so those were great. They're going to be great opportunities for our students. And they were very popular at the career fair, and they post on Handshake, and they stay in touch with us because they like Isenberg students.
And Holly, just to follow up, I think if I remember correctly, on the site or on iConnect, there are by major the companies that hire and the job placements listed, broken out there. If parents wanted to look,
Yep.
That information
We
is
do that
available on the site.
breakdown. I think people could log on to iconnect.isenberg.umass.edu and just see that, because we have a taste of what's there just on the front page per major. So not only do we list jobs and internships that would be interesting to all majors on iConnect, we break it down per major and per master's program on our iConnect pages. And so you can just go there and see what some of them, just like, I think we have like 5 or 6 that sit there on that front page. And then you click to see even more opportunities that are on there. So you can also find on prospective undergraduate students pages, you can find more information as well.
Okay.
Let me just jump in. I'm just going to turn, we'll come back to career stuff, but I know there was a couple of questions around tech classes and what we're doing in AI, and Nora and Susan are embedded in all of this. So I don't know if you want to just offer any comments about what's going on in training students around AI, generative AI, along with any other tech classes that are kind of hot and of interest. Anything Nora teaches, I know, is of interest, but so I don't know if Susan and Nora, you want to maybe comment on that for us, just to let folks know what we're doing in that space.
Sure. You want me to start, Nora? Sure. Okay. So for AI, we have an undergraduate class that's being offered in Operations and Information Management that's open to any student. And so if you can get into there's 4 sections, I believe, this semester. Very popular. So it's a bit impacted, as you can imagine, but we are trying to ramp up our AI offerings. Our long-term goal with AI is that it will be taught in all classes, because AI is going to affect every major, every student, every industry, and it doesn't necessarily behoove us to silo AI, but really we need to integrate it into our curriculum. And so what we're doing is we have our teaching fellows are holding brown bag sessions, ramping up our professors so that they will be ready to bring AI into the classroom today. And so we had our first brown bag session a couple of weeks ago, and it was bringing AI into the classroom, bringing best practices in general, and not trying to shut AI down, but rather embrace it and try and figure out how to upscale the students so that they're ready to go right out into industry and be ready to use AI. Yeah.
Nora, anything you want to add?
Just to add to what Susan said, yes, we are integrating AI in all our classes. I probably heard about other schools saying, we don't want you to use ChatGPT, we don't want you to use that. On the contrary, in Isenberg, we know that this is the future. So instead of telling our students to hide away from it, we're telling them no, embrace it, learn it. Here are the best practices. You should know the skills in order to assess whether the answers you're given by AI are the right ones, but we are integrating it in each and every chapter and like in all the curriculum.
Oh, I do have one thing to add, Dean Massey. We have embraced a new technology app called Data Camp. We've invested a large sum of money into making classes available in a product called Data Camp. So all of your students have access to Data Camp. And in Data Camp, there are over a dozen classes in AI, and these are well vetted. It's not like going to YouTube and hoping you find something that's good. You can take an individual session, which could be maybe a 20-minute session, and you can then take a bunch of sessions, add them together to create a course, and then you can take some courses and add them to a certificate. And now you have a Data Camp certificate in AI where you're learning best practices, ethics, best types of questions to ask. And so it's a terrific learning skill that your students can do during break if, you know, they're really busy during the school year, but say they go home for Thanksgiving and they're bored and they don't know what to do. Encourage them to get into Data Camp and take some AI classes.
Yeah, and I will also add that Data Camp is available to our faculty and staff. And so not only are students upskilling and gaining new competencies, a number of our faculty are in there as well, along with our various staff. I know there was a question Allison pointed out to me earlier about how to get alumni involved and how we're building our alumni network. And so, you know, as we kind of wrap up this session today, I just want to encourage our alumni. We have an event in New York City this coming Wednesday night. If you're in and around the New York area, you have been invited. We would love to have you come. So we run a fall New York event. We run a spring New York event. We also later this month, I've got a big plug for this one in Boston on, is it October 24th? Do I have that date right? October 24th, we have our Leaders of Impact event is going to be at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. And our headliner keynote speaker is former Governor Charlie Baker. So Governor Baker will be joining us to talk about his views on leadership, and we're going to do a little fireside chat, kind of picking his brain about what's going on in his new role, or current role, I should say, as a president of the NCAA. So that is always a wonderful event, the Leaders of Impact event in Boston. And then we will have another event in Boston. We also run some events a little farther afield down in Florida. But so I really want to encourage alumni out there. We have a wonderful evening. It's always fun, a nice program, but a way to network and kind of just, you know, keep in touch with Isenberg. So again, I'll just give a little plug there. If you haven't checked your emails, check them again. So Allison, do you have we got maybe 2 minutes left here. Any burning questions?
You know, I think there are just more questions about, you know, whether we feel like certain majors are slowing down in the hiring or speeding up. Holly, I know you addressed that. Maybe how employment placement has trended last year versus this year was another question, 23, 24. Those were kind of the majority of questions beside a couple specific ones, but I think we'll have to deal with individually with parents. Is it trending up, trending down? I mean, as the 95%, I know it was 95 placement for 24. Do you remember what that was for 23?
Yeah, it was about the same. I'm sorry, I was also answering questions in the Q&A. So I was doing double duty there when you asked that. Yeah, so it's looking really good for 24 and it looks good for 23. As I said before, we don't have our final stats yet, so we'll know more shortly. To whatever degree any of you out there can sway our graduates, fill out that survey. That's how we get the accurate information. And it's hard to track them down after they graduate.
And hey, Holly, one thing, because I know parents are interested, I know you and I've talked about this before, the students who get that internship between their junior and senior year, a good percentage of those students get an offer out of that internship. That still was true for this year, wasn't it?
That was still true. That is the standard practice. I will say sometimes, and I hear from students, a number of them, they learned that that's not where they want to be. And
Yeah.
so even if
Good.
they've been given an offer, they don't necessarily accept it.
Right.
So,
They've got the
and
experience.
that's good
the
too,
value.
because we
Yeah.
want them to go where they want to be. That's the
right.
primary thing. Yeah.
That's right. But anyway, so I think we're in the spirit of time. I want to thank everybody, all of our attendees today, parents and alumni who joined in. Great questions. Allison, for your work helping to coordinate this. Shannon Petrin, who's behind the scenes, along with Holly, Susan, and Nora for taking time to join us. I hope everyone's enjoyed it. This is always fun. It's always good to hear about the good things going on in Isenberg. And I hope to see some of our alumni and parents in New York City Wednesday night. It'll be we're on a rooftop. It's going to be a beautiful night. So hope to see you there. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.